some of the very best in Europe, as Barry Davis now reports.
The strong overseas challenge was headed by Czechoslovakia's Miloš Fizera, twice a world champion, and Dieter Ubing, now West Germany's professional champion. Steve Doose, back from exile in Switzerland, had his status as British champion to defend, and there were hopes of the team title returning home. Conditions looked certain to be testing, and in pouring rain, it was one of the French quartet, Marcel Richer, who led the 58 riders on the 800-metre dash down the road towards the sharp bend which would take them out into the country. The first descent brought a happy sight. Britain's Steve Barnes in front, with Fizera second and Doose just behind. Up to the highest point, 350 metres above the road. Barnes very fleet of foot. But behind the leaders, there are some problems in the pursuing pack. Mick Daly of Lincolnshire caused the problem, but Yorkshire's Mick Hammond suffered most. Barnes is setting a cracking pace for his team and for the 12 other international and regional teams taking part. Across the road and into the water splash for the first time. The first three clear as the pack wends its way through the birch trees. The runners and riders, among them the other two members of the British quartet, Chris Young and David Baker. 55, Martin Springer, a lone rider from Wessex, has made a fine start. Two Germans are together, Hans Führer for the team and Ubing the professional. It's across the bridge over the stream that the mud is thickest, and it will get worse. Into the quarry and the locally known Death's Drop. The 19-year-old Steve Barnes oozing confidence. Miloš Fizera, rising 34, working hard. It's going to be a hard slog catching them, especially for those at the rear of the field. No casualties, though, in the quarry. And no lack of puff riding out the other side. But it's early days. For Barnes and Fizera back on the road, it's the end of lap 1 of the 10 to do. And for the second 2.2 kilometres, it's straight back to the mud. The gap between first and second is up to 10 seconds. And for all his experience, Fizera is finding it hard to hold the younger man. Barnes came into the Halfords with an impressive recent record at home and abroad, and he's looking what he is, a man in form. By comparison with the toe-stepping Yorkshireman, Fizera looks laboured.
After 5 section, heading down the road towards the water splash, and the gap has grown, I would think, by another 5 seconds.
Lap 3, and Barnes is piling on the agony for his pursuers. Fizera in second place is 15 seconds down. Deuce is close to him in third. Fizera missed his chance for a World Championship hat-trick on this course last year. Deuce, having escaped from the publicity of the former British champion Chris Reggett, is finding another rider threatening to capture the headlines. For one of the Irish, it's all a bit of a bog. Barnes into the quarry for the third time. He's increasing his lead to 20 seconds. Fizera has a further 38 seconds in hand on the British challenge coming from behind, provided by the 20-year-old from Caterham, Surrey, Steve Deuce. In fourth place, Hans Fuller of West Germany, just ahead of Chris Young. The British team leads at this stage. Fifth individually and closing fast after a terrible start, Eric Verwert of Belgium. Lap 4, and the legs are looking good. The change of bike makes no difference to Barnes, or indeed to the man in his wake.
Yes, he certainly was. He was around 20th faded when he did start the race.
Ploughing through the black porridge and the back numbers, Barnes is holding his distance.
Seventh place, and wasn't too far behind either.
When Fizera reaches the quarry, Barnes is out of sight. Eric Verwert continues to make progress. How he must be regretting the first lap, which saw him out of the top 20. Away from cycling, Barnes works as an apprentice engineer for a firm making Chieftain tanks. Fizera is finding him just as impregnable. But like Deuce, in third place, he's sticking to his guns, although Deuce will take a shower at the water splash on this fifth lap. Another fast climb, and at the top, Barnes is happy to stick with his favourite bike. Fizera passes two lap riders, Andy Moore of the Lincolnshire team and Mark Gonal from the Northwest. They're nearing the halfway point. The bike change on lap 6, which will later tell a story. The gap between the teenager from Leeds and the ex-world champion who now coaches the West Germans is slowly but surely closing. Has Barnes given too much on the first half of the race? He still leads at the quarry, but only the lapped Chris McHale hides the leader from Fizera. Over the logs on lap 7. The first hint of tiredness about Barnes. Fizera just seems to be waiting his moment to pounce.
It could be very difficult indeed, because now, as the three routes begin to stick through the mud, they're very difficult on this part of the course, and a wrong line with 2 minutes jumping shoulder to shoulder.
As the Czechoslovak goes in front and keeps his lead into lap 8, news comes through that Barnes broke a toe clip out in the country. And now the battle is really joined, and Barnes once more looks the stronger. Two and a half laps to go, and Barnes is back in the lead. Behind Fizera comes Verwert, the Belgian, then Deuce, and the British team leader Chris Young. So 3 British riders in the first 5. The team title looks a certainty. The individual title looks good too, as Barnes continues to stride away from the towering Czechoslovak. While the spectators were having doubts, Barnes, it seems, was taking a breather. He's looking like a man who's got the measure of his rival, and the back markers are adding to Fizera's problems. A glance over the shoulder by Barnes as he comes to the water splash confirms that he's going away. The tail-enders plod on, with thoughts of envy or perhaps of admiration. The brief moment when number 16, Richer, led the way at the start can now be only a painful memory for the Frenchman of what might have been. Barnes is only interested in what will be. Fizera is short of room and of time. Away from the road at the start of lap 9. The gap between the first two is up to 22 seconds. The race has resumed the pattern of the first 5 laps, with Barnes setting a scorching pace. Fizera is entitled to think about retirement, which will come at the winter's end, but he's not giving up yet. Dutchman Paul Peters becomes another to be lapped by Barnes. The bell greets the sprinting Barnes as he comes to the start of the final lap. His lead over Fizera is 39 seconds. Vervoort is 2 minutes 47 seconds down, Deuce at 3 minutes 8. Out among the trees, 200 metres up from the road. There's no pressure on Barnes now. His time will be a lot slower than the winner last year, but the conditions have been far tougher. Fizera, 5th in the World Championships at Sutton Park, will have to settle for the runners-up spot in his last Halfords. Down to death's drop for the last time. Mark Noble keeping Steve Barnes company, but a lap down. Fizera is joined by a lapped man from the Midlands, Dave Mellor. Here's the man in 3rd place and with the recovery story of the race. Riding in the Belgian Championships the day before, left Eric Vervoort too heavy at the start. Steve Deuce has battled all the way and made light of his fall. Chris Young is 5th, just. Steve Barnes comes wide to take the checkered flag in a time of 1 hour, 12 minutes and 10 seconds. And his margin of victory over the weary Fizera is a hugely impressive 51 seconds. Eric Vervoort takes 3rd place for Belgium, but the British have 3 of the first 5 home to take the team title. And Chris Young has the extra satisfaction of holding off Ubing in a sprint finish. It's been a real test of riding, as the winner agrees.
Yeah, very hard. It was the mud, it wasn't really mud, it was just wet, soggy. It's very slippery, especially around the corners at the top and the quarry.
You went off like lightning and then were caught on the 7th. What happened with the toe clip?
Well, I changed onto my second bike, I had trouble with my gears, and I bent my toe clip after I'd just got on it, so I had to swap back to my best bike. But when he got to me, it seemed to ease up, so I rested with him and then I went away again.
You've had a marvellous season at home and abroad, but it must... And good applause for the runner-up, the former world champion, and probably his last appearance here, Milos Fizera. For the biggest hand for the winner, Steve Barnes, collecting his awards from the Mayor of Birmingham. And what now for the World Championship for this impressive 19-year-old?
That's it.